The first Olympic Games were held in Greece in 776 BC and were staged every 4 years for hundreds of years until they were stopped in the early Christian era. The ancient Greeks originally used the Olympic Games as a way of saluting the gods. Nowadays, the modern Olympics are more used to show off the athletic talents from people all around the world. The modern Olympics kicked off in 1896 in Athens, Greece, where only men competed. 245 men from 14 nations participated in 9 different sports. These Olympics were a success, and a second was scheduled for Paris, France 4 years later. The first time that women participated in the Olympics was in the 1900 Olympics located in Paris, France. Over quadruple the number of athletes competed in this Olympics compared to the 1896 ones. The 1904 Olympics were the first Olympics that medals were handed out instead of an olive leaf. Only half the amount of competitors showed up at this Olympics compared to the last, with 525 athletes being from the US. Some events only had American athletes in them. The 1908 Olympics were scheduled to be in Rome but had to be moved to London due to a volcanic eruption. A record 2,000 athletes showed at the Olympics. The 1916 Olympics were cancelled due to World War I. The 1920 Olympics was a special one because the Olympic oath was invented along with the Olympic flag. The flag has at least one color from every country's flag. Oskar Swan from Sweden became the oldest Olympic medalist, winning silver in the running deer team shooting event. The 1924, 1928, and 1932 Olympics had some important moments. Winter Olympics were included in the 1924 Games. The events were held at separate venues in the same year as the Summer Games. Women competed in track and field for the first time ever in the 1928 Olympics, while photo finish technology was installed for the first time in the 1932 Olympics. Berlin was chosen as the host city for the 1936 Games, and they were the first ones to be televised. Both the 1940 and 1944 Olympics were cancelled because of World War II. Japan and Germany were not invited to the 1948 Olympics following the Second World War. The Olympics became progressively political and countries started boycotting events to protest their beliefs and opinions. Tommy Smith and John Carlos gold and bronze medal winners in the 1968 200-meter race each raised a black fist during the playing of the American anthem as a human rights salute. All involved in the salute were suspended from the Games. The 1972 Olympics in Munich will forever be associated with the terrorist attack that killed 11 members of the Israel team. The attack became known as the Munich Massacre. Montreal hosted the 1976 Olympics, but because of poor organization and corruption, the Games were a financial disaster, leading Quebec into a $1.5 billion debt. That debt wouldn't be paid off till 2006, 30 years later. 62 countries boycotted the 1980 Olympics held in Moscow, including Canada, the US, West Germany, and Japan. The USSR boycotted the 1984 Olympics that was held in Los Angeles, claiming there was a lack of security for their athletes. Most people believed that it was revenge for the last Olympics. Seoul hosted the 1988 Olympics. North Korea boycotted the Games, coming as no surprise because of the bad relationship between the two countries. Barcelona hosted the 1992 Olympics. The Winter Games were shifted to a different schedule, 2 years after the Summer Games, instead of being held in the same year. The 1996 Olympics were hosted in Atlanta, Georgia, and were the biggest ones ever. Just under 11,000 athletes competed from 197 countries. Unfortunately, the Games were ruined by a bomb explosion that killed one person. Sydney, Australia hosted the 2000 Olympic Games and introduced a new event, the triathlon. The 2004 Olympics returned to its original city, Athens, Greece. 296 events were held in 28 sports compared to the 1896 Games. There were just 43 events in 9 sports. This was also the start of Michael Phelps's historic career. Beijing was the country that hosted the 2008 Olympics. 43 world records and 132 Olympic records were broken. Michael Phelps won 8 gold medals and Usain Bolt broke the world record in the 100-meter sprint. London held the Olympics for the third time in 2012. This was the first game in which there was a women athlete representing each country. Michael Phelps retired and capped off his incredible career. Rio de Janeiro hosted the 2016 Summer Olympics. The 2020 Olympics, like everything, was cancelled and postponed due to the global pandemic. Athletes were forced to wait an extra year to live out their childhood dreams. With empty stadiums, masks, and a global pandemic still going on, athletes, coaches, and Olympic athletes will be forced to adapt greatly. That will be it for today's video. We really hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, make sure to leave your video ideas down below. We will see you guys in the next one.